Well, joining me now is Mark Spencer. Good morning to you, Mark Spencer, Minister of State for Food, Farming and Fisheries, of course. We appreciate your time this morning. Morning to you. I've just been asking Labour's James Murray there about the video that has emerged of Sir Keir Starmer speaking at a centre-left conference in Montreal in Canada, where he said, we don't want to diverge from EU rules. What do you make of that?
Well, to be honest, it's another flip-flop, isn't it, from Starmer? I don't know quite where he stands on lots of this stuff. First of all, he backed Remain, then he wanted a second referendum, then he wanted to have free movement of people, then he didn't want free movement of people. I think clearly the Labour Party doesn't really have a strategy for Brexit. They keep changing their mind and they seem obsessed with getting into power, not actually delivering for Great Britain and moving our economy forward.
Well, Labour and James Murray just now were reiterating that they don't support dynamic alignment with EU rules. They say they're not going to rejoin the single market. They're not going to rejoin the customs union either. And they say that they won't be in a situation where they're a rule taker.
Well, but clearly that's just what he said there when he was in Canada. He said we were just going to align with the EU, so we just accept their rules and not. But, I think this is all fairly irrelevant because, I think as the Prime Minister has a plan, we are moving forward, we are diverging from the EU, we're doing our own trade deals, we're obviously, in my own department, we're introducing these new land management schemes that benefit the environment. That's all moving away from our friends in the EU, but that doesn't mean that we can't have a functional trading relationship with them as an independent country, and I think that's the way our relationship should work, but Labour seem to have lost their way on this completely.
Well, yes, so tell us a little bit more about that. He was talking generally about environmental rules and labour laws and how the UK has similar values as far as the EU is concerned on those issues. Tell us a little bit more about how you've used Brexit freedoms then to change EU laws. I mean, to what extent have you?
Yeah, so we can. So, for example, within the agricultural industry, we're now using taxpayers' money to fund environmental land management schemes to support our farmers, not only to produce the great food they produce, but also to look after the environment. So we can strengthen some of those rules. When it comes to agricultural chemicals, we can again manage our own chemicals industry with very robust regulations, if you like, around that, so that we can have the best examples of embracing new technology and moving forward. And I think that's what we're going to need. If we're going to feed the world and look after the environment, we need to embrace that new technology. And being outside the EU gives us that freedom to be able to do that.
The Times is reporting today that Rishi Sunak is considering reforming A-levels. Is that realistic? One former Michael Gove advisor says there aren't enough teachers and it's just not practical.
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm not the Minister in the Department of Education, but I do know, I think giving our next generation the skills to build a great career in maths and English is the right thing to do. I think we have a very good track record, actually, of giving the next generation those skills. We've seen huge improvements in our education system and in the results that our young kids are getting. And I think that has to be the right thing to do, to continue to invest in the next generation.
And a quick thought from you on what's happening in Devon, because the NHS there is saying that they're preparing to take extra measures to keep patients safe because hospital emergency departments are under pressure caused by striking doctors. Is it time for the Health Department to sit down with the BAMA and negotiate a deal now?
Well, I think it's time for them to come off the picket lines and to get back to work. We've had an independent review. The independent pay review body has looked at this. They've made a very generous offer. I think it's now time to come back to work, to get back and look after patients and put them at the heart of this.
Should the Health Secretary not be talking to the BMA?
Well, so the Health Secretary has always been clear. He's more than happy to talk to the BMA about the conditions and the challenges that they face.
What about pay?
But, we've had an independent pay review body look at this, and they've come forward with a very fair offer. And I think, it's now time to come off the picket lines and put patients first.
OK, well, Mark Spencer, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming in. Thank you.